everyone. It's the First Lady of Nutrition, Ann Louise here with you today. And it's my pleasure to be discussing a topic that I think everyone, no matter what your age and stage of life, will find tremendously interesting. We're going to discover the secrets to pain-free living with my special guest, Sue Hitzmann, who has a New York Times best-selling MELT method, which is a breakthrough self-treatment system to eliminate chronic pain, erase the signs of aging, and feel fantastic in just 10 minutes a day. So welcome to you, Sue Hitzmann.
Thank you so much, Ann Louise. I appreciate you.
Well, my dear, how did you come up with the MELT method, which I'm going to take with me on my vacation because I've got to get into it with hook, line, and sinker. I know you're very involved with fascia and straightening out the underlying causes of muscular tension and stress and kind of stuck muscles, tendons, and ligaments. But tell me how you discovered this and uncovered this.
Sure. Well, I mean, I've been in the fitness industry for over 30 years. And in my late 20s, after having a master's in physiology and anatomy and thinking I knew everything there was about the human body, I got myself into a boatload of chronic pain myself. And the onset of it, it was called plantar fasciitis, which I know a lot of people have, foot pain. And it literally debilitated me. It became a body-wide pain and fatigue. I became very frustrated with what was going on. There was no exercise for inflamed fascia. I was like, is this really the cause of my pain? And I went down this rabbit hole to try to discover what fascia was. And in the late 90s, that's when the internet came up. So fascia was the first word I typed into the search bar. And I found this emerging field of fascial researchers and scientists who were trying to uncover what the role of fascia was, what it did, and got taken under the wing of these researchers and started to develop what I was calling hands-off body work. Instead of using hands-on therapeutic intervention with my clients, learning all of these fascial techniques with my hands, I kind of thought, well, gosh, that means that everybody's going to always have to come back to me all the time. So I started to develop tools and techniques that were simulating the same type of gentle compression that I was doing with my hands. I started sharing it with my clients in the early 2000s. They were getting better faster. They had to come back less often. And in 2004, I coined the term MELT. I started teaching it in group environments. And today I've got 2,000 instructors worldwide. I've got 2 books in 8 languages, and just continuously sharing this concept that connective tissue is inherently linked to chronic and persistent pain issues, as well as that sense of, lackluster, the lack of resilience in the body, the lack of vitality. Fascia plays a role in not only how your muscles and your bones and your joints are moving, but also how your immune system and your nervous system function to keep you balanced and stable over a lifetime.
You know, I'm fascinated with fascia, so we've got to just unpack this for my listening audience. So tell me what the difference between inflamed fascia, and connective tissue are. Can you explain that in layman's terms?
Absolutely. Well, connective tissue itself is this fluid matrix under your skin. It's primarily made up of collagen, and it is the stuff outside of everything else that you can define: your cells, your blood vessels, your nerves, your organs. Every muscle is encased in this fascial continuum, and connective tissue is primarily fluid. And what science is starting to realize is daily living causes a breakdown in the fluid, the cohesiveness of this fluid perfusion, this fluid movement in this tissue. And even if people don't have pain, we've all experienced what I call connective tissue dehydration. Like when you've sat for long periods of time and when you get up, you feel like you aged 40 years in just the span of a few minutes because your joints don't work as well as they did when you sat down. Or you wake up in the morning and your feet feel really tight on the floor, your back is hurting you, your joints crack a lot, you feel like your posture is diminishing. And that's what we call pre-pain signals. It's altering how the supportive qualities of fascia are moving. And so if it's left unattended, these issues of your connective tissue accumulate and they cause a host of unwanted symptoms that are very much linked to low-grade inflammation. And this biological fabric that supports, connects, and literally interpenetrates every, again, organ, muscle, bone, nerve, everything. It's what gives your system structural support. So, from joint alignment to your, again, immune and your neurological health, fascia is playing a crucial role in your body's longevity, your function, your form, and it is what's keeping you feeling youthful, vibrant, and mobile if it's hydrated. So if you think of fascia kind of like a sponge, daily living is kind of making your sponge a little stiff. So we need to learn how to work the fluid back into this sponge so that we improve its supportive quality, so that we move well and we feel youthful.
So as I hear you, your melt method is really a layman's guide to fascial fitness. Am I correct?
I would say yes, absolutely. And not just fascia, but also to educate people on how our nervous system is inherently linked to our fascial system. So our ability to sense and feel our world around us is also inherently linked to fascia. So this is like super layman. You don't have to be fit. It doesn't matter what age you are, what fitness level you are. The beauty of melt and the whole methodology is it meets people where they're at. The very basic protocols are very gentle. We use soft tools. We have this very soft roller, soft balls to just, again, rejuvenate, sense, and feel our body in a different way and enhance the supportive qualities of the fascial system so it functions more efficiently.
So I can understand how daily movement may be involved, repetitive movements and kind of having the fascia like glue stick together. But what
Mhm.
other things can impact? Would it be any kind of infection or accident, whiplash? I'm just trying to get a sense of this.
Yeah, actually, I mean, not just daily living. I mean, daily living is the biggest impactor to our connective tissues stability, but what you eat, your sleep, your emotional states, your relationships, your joy, all of these things cause a shift in how we move, we function, and we adapt. So, on a cellular level, fascia is like, if somebody's out there is listening and has fibromyalgia or any type of mixed connective tissue disorder, Marfan syndrome, cancer, any of these things are going to affect your connective tissue. In fact, cancer loves to live in stiff fascia. And this is why it's so important that we get up and we move every day. And the beauty of melt is that kind of get to be your own body worker. You get to sense and feel your body every day to ensure that the system is working well and your body feels good.
So when we're talking about inflamed or stuck fascia from everyday living or accidents or infections or just growing older or not eating properly or sleeping properly, when we're speaking about all of that, does this matter as we get older? Do we need to then increase our, you talk about dehydration, so I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. Does that mean we have to
Mhm.
increase our fluids, our hyaluronic acid supplements, that type thing?
That's a really great question. The thing about fluids that most of us are doing incorrectly is that we don't sip water frequently enough. It's not the volume of water we need to increase, it's the frequency. And the problem with as we get older is a lot of older adults will say, "Well, I go to the bathroom all the time. I'm running to the bathroom." And I say that's actually showing a lack of consistent hydration, because if your cells are utilizing the nutrients and the fluids that you're intaking, you don't just go to the bathroom. And again, just like a stiff sponge, a dried out sponge doesn't absorb water as fast as a moist one, that is one of those prepain signals that we miss. If you feel like, in the daytime you're exhausted, but at night you try to fall asleep and you can't, and you're waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, that's a sign that your nervous system is in distress. Your body's saying, "Hey, I can't utilize the fluids in the body." So we just pee them out. So the beauty of melt is that it actually helps the system that both transports nutrients and transports fluids to our cells to move and to create the cell proliferation that we want, which is again part of what ages us is a lack of proliferation of cells, a lack of growth of new cells. So if you want your cellular health to maintain its abundance and you want to stay again in that more youthful state of being, then tapping into the fascial system is really the renewable resource. It's kind of the missing link that most people who are leading an active lifestyle are missing, is that you have to realize that diet and exercise, while they are critical, again, you got to get up and move, you got to eat water-filled foods, you got to sip water frequently. If the tissue that is trying to absorb those nutrients and absorb that fluid is lacking its state of efficiency, you just pee more. You just go to the bathroom all the time. So if you start melting, you'll find that you'll pee more volume, less often. Your body will feel better. Your joints will feel more stable. And really, when your joints feel good and your body feels good, you move more, and that'll keep your weight down. It'll make you just, again, more active. You'll want to get up and move around.
How frequently, my dear, should we be sipping as I sit here sipping water consistently,
You,
continually?
it's a really great question. Again, so if you had a liter of water in front of you, my point is, if you let that liter of water last you for 2 or 3 hours, and every 15 minutes or so, you just took a sip, you would be better served on a cellular level. Your cells would actually utilize fluids more rather than drinking a liter of water in the morning with all of your pills and all of your vitamins and then not drinking for 3 hours. That's what causes the discrepancy in the body. And unfortunately, we train ourselves into that. You look at a young kid who's sitting in school, they're only drinking water maybe in the morning when they have their breakfast. At lunch, maybe they'll have some, right? So we're actually training our bodies to not maintain fluid flow from a very young age. So really, the younger you learn how to stabilize the cell development of your body, the more you'll harness the resilience of your own youth. So, again, if anybody who's a little older here, I'm 50 now. So, once you reach 50 and you're up into the middle part of your life, that middle essence really does need self-care, and the sipping water, just, again, every 10, 15 minutes, just taking a sip would be better served than just guzzling bunches of water periodically through the day.
That's huge. What you've just told everybody is so huge. I became fascinated with fascia many years ago. I suffered a concussion, which was an accidental concussion, which I'm not going to go into major details with, but it really affected my soft tissues. I lost some teeth. I broke some teeth. I was
Wow.
unconscious when they found me. So I've had a number of adhesions and scar tissue. And I assume you're talking also about scar tissue when you talk about stuck or inflamed fascia.
Yes, absolutely. Like, and that's the really frustrating part for a lot of people who get something like a traumatic brain injury, or you slip and you fall and land on your tailbone, or you have whiplash. If you got an MRI, they would say, nope, there's nothing wrong with you here. But that's the problem with connective tissue, is that we're not really looking at the connective tissue itself unless you're looking at a specific type of connective tissue, like a tendon or a ligament, where there's less of that fluid and more of the collagen. Like, it's a beautiful design of the human body that, if you think about how we look, around our joints, fascia is thicker, it's more like leather, but in and around the muscle, just like you would see on a piece of steak, it's sort of marbled into the body. It's sort of a grid. But one way or other, this system is one cohesive system from skin to bone, from head to toe. It is interpenetrated through your bones. So same thing, as we get older, you want to keep your bone health healthy. Melt will also encourage that stability of your bones, because that compression and tension that you cause on fascia, the very two things that can dehydrate and alter the system, can actually replenish it if you know how. It's all about gentle compression, very specific focal ways to stimulate these regions of your body. And in the case of, like what you said, having a concussion, doing something like the hand treatment or the upper body compression sequence, rather than going right to your skull, is what we define as the indirect before direct approach of melt. So if anybody had a back pain or something like that, the last thing you do is the low back release sequence. We would want you to work indirectly. So if you had back pain, we might start treating your feet. If you had neck pain, we'd start in your hands, just like a quality therapist would do. You don't chase your pain. You don't go right after the areas that are screaming out for help. I always say the pain areas of your body are like a child screaming out for your help. Well, if a kid was yelling out for your help, you wouldn't walk up to them and punch them in the face. You would figure out what the problem was. You would quiet them down, calm them down, and then you would take inventory, information in, and then create a solution. When it comes to our bodies, when we have pain, we do the exact opposite. We actually try to beat it out of ourselves. We get angry over it. Why is my body failing me? And that's another thing that will perpetuate the brain's message that something is wrong. Your brain is what's producing your sense of pain 100% of the time. But if the fascia doesn't have its supportive supple qualities, the sensory nerves living in that fascial continuum send messages to the brain that something's not right. And so if you want to eliminate pain, instead of going after your mind and doing psychotherapy, work on your body to change your brain, and then work on your brain to change your body. It's a better way to go.
You know, I've written a book that'll be out sometime in 2021 called Radical Longevity, and I talk about freeing up fascia. And I really wish that I had interviewed you previous to writing this book, which only took 3 years of my life. But having said that, I mean, I can see myself bent over, my shoulders have, I've written 36 books. So that takes a definite toll on your body. There's no question about that. And I'm just wondering, with people that are at the computer or that are writers like I am, or are at an everyday desk job where they're using technology and they've got the tech neck and so forth, do you see specific areas that Mel could really offer assistance to with regard to body parts?
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. You know, for me, I'm the same. I spend a tremendous amount of time at my computer writing. And so anybody who's sitting at a computer, here's the thing. What's the thing we're doing when we're at the computer? Our head carriage is forward and we're using our hands to a great degree. So treating your hands can actually alleviate some of that tension in the cervical spine, treating our upper body, just like what you said, gosh, it's like your upper body starts to look like a candy cane. You're all curved forward. Well,
yes,
that's just it, right? And so we want to restore the extension of that mid back. And so that is what Melt does, is it helps to reestablish stability in the mid thoracic spine. And in my second book, Melt Performance, we add another technique, which is neurological reintegration and repatterning. So these very subtle strength-based techniques to try to reintegrate the timing of these deep stabilizing muscles that keep our spine and our shoulder girdle and our pelvic girdle in good alignment. We really are the cause of our dysfunction. Our daily lives in this modern day lifestyle, our body was made to be hunter-gatherers. And now what we are is, you know, we're like, just like a still point. We just sit in a chair all the time. And that's not what our body's designed to do. So, you know, again, movement in general is important beyond Melt. If you're sitting at a desk all the time, just every half of an hour, stand up, put your feet on the floor and take 3 big breaths as you bring your arms up into the air, reach up for the sky, and then let your arms come down. 3 full breaths. Even that will improve blood flow and decrease some of that fascial stiffening that happens in a very integral part of our body, which is that central region of our abdomen and the inside of our spine. There's a really important muscle called psoas that is, quite frankly, a neurological receptor that our brain is using to make sure it knows where our pelvis is at when we stand up. And so if we're sitting a lot, it's actually altering our nervous system's connection to our center of gravity, and that leaves us out of balance. So that's another reason as we get older, a lot of older adults have a tendency to just accidentally fall, trip, have instability. And again, here's another reason to melt your hands and your feet, is to restore your brain's connection to your pelvis, to get your spine in better alignment so that you move efficiently. It's really important everybody learns that.
So don't you think that arthritis that people seem to be exhibiting when they get older could just be a sign of stiffening or inflamed fascia?
That is what it is. I mean, arthritis is nothing more than a decrease of fluid flow in the joint compartments. Look, here's a big thing for people to hear. Around your joints, it's all fascia. There's no muscles around your joints. It's all fascia. Think of your joints like satellites, and your brain is trying to figure out where those satellites are. You actually have more neurological nerve endings living in the fascia, and they are in high abundance around your joints. So if the fascia is decreasing in its supportive qualities, if it's lost some of the fluid flow, your nervous system kind of can't find the GPS signal. And it's kind of like, you know, your GPS isn't working, you don't know where you're going. And that is one of the things that causes the wear and tear. It causes our joints to become less stable, causes unnecessary compression in our joints. And that is a key factor of arthritis. So if you can reduce arthritic symptoms, very quickly if you just started melting for 10 minutes a day. And that's the other thing, Ann Louise, it's like, not like you're, having to melt for 5 hours in a day just to keep your body feeling good. A little bit of melt. I melt every morning. I melt my feet while I'm brushing my teeth. I roll on the balls. I get on the roller for a few minutes before I go to bed. I do a rebalance sequence to improve my sleep habits. And it's amazing. I mean, really, for somebody who travels all the time, I don't know what I would do without traveling with my rollers. I've got 3 rollers here. I'm actually in the midst of traveling now. And this is, it's what keeps you feeling good, is when tissue around your joints is stable, your joints move well, your body feels resilient. And again, like, why don't people move around a lot when they're older? Is because their joints are killing them. That's really the primary reason, because their back hurts them, their knees hurt them. So if you want to minimize that and you are suffering with arthritis, fastest way to resolve it is start treating your connective tissue. You have to learn how to rehydrate your fascia, and you can. It's easy.
So how do people get in touch with you? I mean, people are going to listen to this the way I am right now and say, I really need a melt. I need a melt makeover is really what we all need. And your book is very comprehensive. It's a little formidable. Are there online courses people can take and so forth?
Yes, absolutely. So first, I have a website, meltmethod.com, and we have a self-care course that you can buy. It's very inexpensive, and it'll walk you through the absolute 101 of melt. It's basically melt by the book. If you bought the book and then you want a crash course in the book itself, that the self-care course is definitely for you. I also have a streaming platform called Melt on Demand, and every single week I put out a brand new video in the categories of pain, performance, and lifestyle. So if you have a joint pain or something, you can learn how to restore that. If you play golf or tennis and you want to know how to prepare your body and also restore it so that you don't have joint injuries, or like you said, you're sitting at your desk. We have melt math specific for, like I call it, melt for the desk sentence, for those of us sitting all the time. So you can find lots and lots of ways to keep your melt practice fresh, refine your techniques with tutorials and with treatments that are specially designed as for specific issues. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter at Melt Method, so you can also find us there. And I am very active on social media. I try to get out there in front of everybody at least a few times a week on our social channels. And if you're a YouTuber and you type in Melt Method, you'll also find some basic videos there as well.
So you have instructors, melt instructors all over the country, all over the world?
We do. If you go to the Melt Method website, if you click on Find Melt and you type in your zip code, you might be surprised to find that there is an instructor near you. And really, because of COVID, a lot of our instructors who are teaching in group environments have just moved their classes online. So you can take a class with a top instructor, which is so beneficial. They also do private Zooms to refine your practice. And, again, to kind of just keep you motivated to keep your self-care going. So our instructors are just world-class, and they're all over the world. So easy to find them.
So my next question to you is going to be this. As one who has had major adhesions, fascial sticking, call it whatever you will, I'm also employing stretching, but I don't think that the normal stretching methodology that's being taught these days can really accommodate or is similar to what you do with melt. Am I correct? They're very different animals.
They are different animals, but here's the thing is, if you enjoy any type of stretching, even things like yin yoga or any type of yoga type of techniques, if you melt for 10 minutes first, maybe you were to work on your feet and hydrate the back of your legs and your inner thigh, and then do your stretching, you'll find that not only will that improve your joint mobility, but it'll actually give you a little bit more range of motion while you're stretching. You'll actually feel the difference. The problem with traditional stretching for most people is that we're actually hanging off of the tendinous structures. We're stretching, but we're really not getting out of our stretching routines what we want, because again, if the tissue around our joints, where the fascia is really more thick and leathery, if that tissue doesn't have its sliding and gliding potential, you're really just yanking on on the tendons. So again, a lot of people really feel like they have strained tissue right near the bottom of their buttocks or right behind the back of their knee. And that's when you know your stretching is not doing what you think it's doing. So again, if you melt and then you did your stretching, or you melt and then you do some of your resistance training, you'll find that you'll reduce joint compression and you'll improve performance and decrease your risk of injury later.
So why is this important? I certainly know why it's important for those of us over the age of 50, but why do you think this is also important for people that are in their 20s and 30s and are engaging in all kinds of exercise practices?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I think if I knew about this when I was a teenager, I probably would have been a high performance professional athlete, right? So if you, again, the thing about repetition is also in athletics, the blessing and curse of athletic performance. It makes you better at throwing a ball more accurately or kicking a ball more accurately. But because of the repetition that you do to become a high performance athlete or just to be active, you're practicing and repeating the exact same things all the time. So what we want to do is we want to maintain the sensory motor enhancement of repetition, but decrease the damage to the connective tissue so that we don't damage a joint. Because once you damage a joint, you lose all your short-term gains. And it's actually what ends the career of many an athlete is they injure a joint. So or they strain a muscle so bad that it actually tears out of the socket, right? So if you're young and you want to improve performance, decrease your risk of injury, then the MELT performance protocol is great for you. If I always say I guess I'm getting older, but I want to get old way later in life. I'm going to age much later. I don't want to age right now. I want to keep as much of my youthfulness as I can. I want to look and feel like I'm 20. I don't want to feel like I'm 50. I don't know what that would feel like. I mean, if I didn't know my biological age, I would say maybe I'm 20. I don't know. So, for me, I think that we're really looking to harness and not be the 60 or 70-year-old or 80-year-old that we thought our parents were or our grandparents were. We want to look and feel youthful at any age. So to me, I think that if we could get younger teenagers, 20-year-olds to MELT, you would see a lot less orthopedic problems in the aging climate. And really what I think has happened in the population I've seen, I mean, honestly, in a 30-year career here of body work, I see more 40-year-olds getting knee and hip replacements than I have ever in my entire career now. And I'm thinking, what are you guys doing, or what haven't you been doing, right? So we know that in this modern day lifestyle, we're sitting a lot more, we're in our cars more, we're sitting in chairs more, we're not moving as much as we used to. When we were kids, we'd get up and play, you'd just play all the time. And now kids are playing on their televisions, on their tablets, on their phones. And this is really a detriment to the human form, because the human form was not really designed to do those things. We're hunter-gatherers. We're designed to move, to squat, to bend, to twist, and we're not doing those things. So if you're sitting most of the day, and then you're like, I'm going to go for a 5-mile run after, your connective tissue might not be ready for that 5-mile run, even though your mind is. And again, this is why the weekend warriors and the regular people get injured a lot. The last people to get tennis elbow is a professional tennis player. It's the ones that are playing on the weekends or playing with their friends that get injured. And it's a fascial problem. That's all it is. So, again, doesn't matter what age you are. If you want to lead an active, healthy, pain-free life for your entire lifetime, minimize joint problems, improve your overall resilience, then you need to learn a little bit about connective tissue. And if you want to learn about that, I think the MELT method is the best resource out there, because it simplifies science into layman's terms. It's an easy methodology to learn, and there's support all over the place. So you're not alone if you are in pain. I always say, don't suffer. Just take action, take charge, and that's what we're here to do, is to help people do just that.
As we round up our round out and complete our lovely interview, tell people what's on the agenda next for MELT. What's in the future? What lies in the future, God willing, for Sue Hitzmann?
Well, I certainly have at least one more book in me, so there's probably going to be another book within the next 12 to 18 months that I'll bring out there. And I think what's exciting is that all of our or all of our instructor trainings, because of COVID, we moved it online, so more people can access Melt now than ever before. There'll be lots more videos on Melt on Demand. It's the best resource for, again, anything, whether you've had a surgery or you just want to play a better golf game. Melt on Demand and the streaming platform will just continue to grow and grow. And again, for people who are interested in becoming instructors, you can now do it at the comfort of your own home. And when it is safe to come back into groups, we'll have a big melt fest and come together and really share some positive energy, which I think is much needed in this climate.
So important. So I want to thank you so much for being my special guest today. Sue Hitzmann, the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Melt Method, in which we can discover the secrets to pain-free living at any age and stage in life, might I add. And I want to thank all my listeners for tuning in yet to one more episode of First Lady of Nutrition. I need to thank our sponsor, Unikey Health Systems at unikeyhealth.com, for their wonderful new immune product formula, for their detox formulas, and for their weight loss system. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you again, Sue Hitzmann. Shalom, shalom. Everybody be well and stay well. Hi, everybody. I'm Ann Louise here with just one more thing. Thank you so much for being a fan of my work. And if you like this video, please check out all my other videos. Please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications.